My 7¼ inch gauge Tich locomotive. This miniature locomotive is for sale from Sunday the 9th of February 2020. These are some video extracts of me actually steaming the engine around my garden railway, but I sold the house last year, so I don't have that anymore, and it seems such a waste just to have it sat on a bench. This one features Mr. Alex Carnes driving the engine round the railway. This locomotive may be small, but it has a large firebox.
There we go.
Will it?
Yeah.
Just let it just catch before it blows. Well lit?
Yeah.
The electric blower, or should I say sucker, is sat in the chimney, and once the mixture is lit, it's just a case of turn that on. This will draw oxygen through the fire and make it burn very brightly. Once the charcoal's nice and hot, it's time to add some coal. Alex has done this and now he's lubricating the moving parts, and it's nearly time to go. You may notice that the pitch of the sound of the blower changes as it gets warm. In this clip, Alex is shoveling some coal into the boiler, and in no time at all, it's ready to go. The first thing to do is to take it round to where the hosepipe is to fill up the water tank in the tender. When I built this locomotive, I didn't want to have to keep rebuilding the valve gear, and I found some ball racers which were 1/4 inch OD and 1/8 inch ID, and I fitted these to all of the moving links on the valve gear. And now in 2020 there's very little in the way of wear on the motion. There is some wear on the coupling rod and connecting rod bushes, but not a lot. As you can hear, the engine runs very sweetly. I really thought it out when I built this engine. For instance, I made sure that the expansion link was large, therefore it wouldn't wear out very quickly. Also, the engine axle boxes contain ball racers. These are shrouded and shielded and have never got any dirt in them, so they still run very freely indeed. I used to drive it flat out down this part of the railway. When I first built the railway, I incorporated a reverse curve at the end of this long straight in case the engine ever did derail, in which case it would tip itself and all the passengers onto the lawn, not onto the gravel and up against the stone wall. The suspension on this engine is quite soft because I didn't want it to fall off the track, and it's really worked because it's never once fallen off the track. And believe me, I've been around this track at an alarming rate of knots. The boiler has a recent boiler certificate and is in good working order. I will include an electric blower and some firing irons, so all you need is some coal and water and off you go. Please note that the sale of this engine is nothing to do with my business, Main Steam Models. This is my own personal engine that I built in 1996. Here's another clip from another video. Recently, I've had to do quite a lot of work on the house, so I thought, right, at the same time, I'll renovate the railway. So once the railway is renovated, which it now is, I can look at running the engine again. The first thing I did was to give the engine a hydraulic boiler test, which it passed with flying colours. It's a very good boiler. It was built by a friend of mine, a professional boiler maker. The first thing I did after the hydraulic test was to steam the boiler and immediately blow it down. This got rid of any residue that was sat about in the bottom of the boiler. I did of course put the fire out and make sure the pressure was down to about 20 psi before I blew down the boiler, as it's never a good idea to blow down a boiler from too high a pressure. I used to have a problem with one of the injectors, and since that video was made, I've fixed the problem. Both injectors inject beautifully. This is a son of a friend of mine who's driving the engine, and he's only 4 years old. And this is my daughter Charlotte, taking a few children around the track. This engine's very powerful. I used 1.5 inch bore cylinders which were over the size of the Kenyan drawing. There's not much more I can say about it. Here are 1 or 2 final details and of course the price. If you want to see this engine in steam on a rolling road, you'll have to come and visit me, by appointment only, and I live near York. I can arrange personal delivery in the United Kingdom for the price of the fuel. But please be aware, to ship this abroad will be very expensive. It is extremely heavy for its size. Payment needs to be either in cash or bank transfer. The engine has to be sold as seen, but don't worry, I'm a very honest man. It's a very useful engine. Thanks for watching the video, and I hope you found it interesting.